So we move on to projection of prisms. Its axis inclined to both the planes. I'll go for a problem which is given in the book. A pentagonal prism of 30 mm side of base, 70 mm height is resting on one of its edges of the base in such a way that the base makes an angle of 40 degrees with HP and the edge which it is resting is at 30 degrees to VP. Draw the projections of the prism. Resting on one of its edges of the base in such a way that the base makes an angle of 40 degrees with HP. So in these problems, he says it's resting on one of its edges of the base, so base edges on HP, so that the base makes an angle of 40 degrees with HP and the edge which is resting, he says it is at 30 degrees to VP. So he's asking for the projection. In that case, it's a very simple problem, the basic problem, where when the base is inclined at 40 degrees to HP is nothing but the axis is going to incline with 90 minus that base inclination. So it will be at 50 degrees to HP and the axis is inclined at 30 degrees to VP. So this is the case where axis is inclined to both the planes. We'll see how to solve this problem. Okay. So whenever I have any prism resting on one of its base edges on HP, so I told you to go for keeping that edge which is going to rest on HP perpendicular to XY line. Then you go for constructing that prism. That may be any prism, whether it is pentagonal or square or hexagonal, triangular. So the same procedure. So look at the axis, bisect two of its sides, then you'll get the center. So that is axis O1. C, D, E is the top end face. A1, B1, C1, D1, and E1 is the base. I'll just project this to get the front view when it is resting on its base on HP. This is the first position. Always to go for keeping the solid resting on any one of the plane so that you can go for drawing the true shape of that ends face. So that's a polygon. So this is the axis. You know how to draw the axis. Chain line. So then this will be AB, C, D, E with all dashes because all these are front views. Then A1, B1 dash, C1 dash, D1 dash and E1 dash is the base. O dash and O1 dash is the axis in the front view. So always the first position to keep the prism to rest on its base on HP if it is resting on HP. Next step is to give the inclination to the base. Since this is the base, he has given you the base inclination, otherwise he can give you the axis inclination also. So he says the base is inclined at 40 degrees, just incline the base at 40 degrees, draw a line inclined at 40 degrees to XY line. So then transfer all these lines on that line. Okay. So take the same length of this base it is available in the front view. So this is axis line, this is x, so then this is a1 b1 dash, this is o1, this is c1 dash, d1 dash and e1 dash. So redraw the same sketch which is available in the previous one, so that redrawing that, making that this a1 b1 c1 d1 even inclined at 40 degrees to HP. So this is at 40 degrees to HP. This is the axis, right? Okay. So axis line, make enough to draw this. So this is A dash, B dash, C dash, D dash, then E dash. So this is O dash and this is O dash. So this is the condition what I have satisfied. It says base is inclined at 30 degrees, having one of its base edges resting on HP. So I have kept this A1 B1 resting on XY line. I have redrawn. So this is called as change of position method, anyway we discussed in the previous class. So project all these points on HP to get the top view in this position. Then draw the locus from all the points. So now we will go for locating all the points now. So A and A, so this is A, B and B dash, so that is B, C and C, this is D, this is E and this is O. Same we will go for marking A1, A1, so that is your A1, this is B1, C1, D1 and E1. And the axis O1, so this is O1, right? Okay, yeah, O1 and O1, so this is, so now I have to complete this view, and meanwhile we have to identify which edges are visible and invisible edges if we want to complete this view. In that case, I'll look from the top, check out which end face is nearer to the observer. So complete all the edges of that end face which is near to the observer with a thick continuous line, because all the edges are visible. Then go for the outermost edges, complete that outermost edges. This is the outermost boundary edges what you can call. So then what about DD1? This is the topmost edge. So complete the topmost edge with the thick continuous line. So that is visible edge, right? Then this becomes a surface, this is the surface and this is the surface. So any edge which are not joined now will become a dotted line, because that becomes the invisible edge, because this is the topmost surfaces. So you cannot have any edge on the surface. So below the top surfaces, any edges are nothing but invisible edges. So go for drawing all the edges with a dotted line, joining them with a dotted line. So A1, B1 is not joined, so this is invisible edge. CC1 is thick line, visible, AD1, E1. So check all the edges, A, B, C, D, E, A1, B1, C1, E1, E1. So all the edges are joined. Only up to this where you can see, you can go for drawing the axis line, because this edge DD1 overlaps with the axis line. So this is the visible edge, so make that edge, it's in the front topmost edge with a thick continuous line, whereas this only to that length where you can show, you have to show the axis. Then it says the edge on which it is resting. is inclined at 30 degrees to VP. Now the edge which is resting on HP is nothing but A1 B1. So that A1 B1 is perpendicular to VP when you are looking at this. Okay, so this is perpendicular to VP. This is something like this. Okay, so I have turned that. So if you look at in the front view, it will be this. Then I have inclined the base at 30 degrees. So whatever I see is nothing but this view. So where I can see this surface and these two. So all other edge comes below that. So then this is the edge which is resting on HP. So that edge now should be, which is now perpendicular to vertical plane, should be inclined. Okay, so that edge should incline with 30 degrees. So in that way I have to redraw. So then I have to redraw this in such a way that this A1 which is at 90 degrees should become be drawn at 30 degrees to XY line. Because this is in the true length, I can go for drawing the same inclination what is given, so true inclination. So in that case I will inscribe this in a rectangle. That's the easy way to redraw the views, okay? Because you cannot measure the angle, so better to inscribe this in a rectangle. 1 2 3 4 this grid. I can easily redraw this grid, then I can transfer all the points to get the same view redrawn at this position. So then A1 B1 is parallel to 1 2, then I have to go for drawing that 1 2 inclined at 30 degrees. Just go for drawing line inclined at 30 degrees. In that you can mark this 1 2 or say somewhere, yeah. Okay, this 1, okay, 2 inclined at 30 degrees. So then I complete that 1 4 and 2 3. So because this is 1 and 2, so this will be perpendicular to 1 2. So we'll complete that 3 4 rectangle. On that 1 2 I am having A and B. So take this length and transfer here. So this is A, same length if I transfer here I'll get that B. Then on this 2 3 I am having C and C1. I'll take that length. Then also this 2 to C is equal to 1 to E. Then 2 to C is equal to 1 to E. So then I'll take this 2 to C, I'll mark that. Meanwhile I'll get even the E. So this is E. So then I'll get this center line. Okay, take that length, you draw a center line so that I can get the D and D1. Okay, so take this length, draw it here. So that is nothing but D. Now anyway 2C1 I can take and I can mark that C1. So this is D1, same length, and this 1 4 will be E1. Then I'll take this 1 to this length, A where A1 is. I'll draw a line parallel to that 1 2 because A1. So I can take this same length of 1A, I can transfer, or with a minute after I can transfer this to get that A1 B1. So I got C1 D1 E1. So A B C D E. Even I can transfer this O and also O1. So everything. Right, okay. So same view, I'll redraw now. 1 AB BC CD D E. This is E, right? E1 is visible. This is E1. D1 C1 C1 D1 is visible. Then this is dotted line. Then this is a dotted line. B1 C1 is a dotted line. Then A1 is a dotted line. B1 is a dotted line, and this is the axis. Big dash and the small and the big. Same thing, I have to redraw, but this is a little bit. In size because I didn't take exact lengths by taking that. Okay. So in this position, how exactly it looks in the front view is nothing but view. Then I'll go for projecting all the points above this line. Check out which is view. If this is outermost, so check out, go for drawing all these lines. Now project all the points, even including this O1, project to front view, A1 and B1. Check out C1, if it's overlaps, don't worry. D1, E1, everything. Okay, so this is O1, E1, O1, I will just project. So now I'll draw the locus from all these points. O, D, D1, C1, O, and this will be A1, B1. I will go for marking A, B, C, D, E in the order, then A1, B1, C1, A1, B1. So A and E, this becomes A dash. B and B, so this is B dash. C and C, this is C dash. Sorry, C dash. And D and D, the topmost, so D dash. E and E, okay, this is E dash. Same way I'll go for A1 dash. So on XY line B1 is on XY line, right? So this becomes B1, where is that B1? Yeah, this is B1. Then dash, okay. C1, this is C1 and C1, so C1 dash. D1 and D1, so this is D1 dash. E1 and E1, so this is E1 dash. O1 and O1, so this is O1 dash. So now I have to complete the view by identifying which are visible and invisible edges. So for that, I'll go for finding out which end face is near to the observer. So A1, B1, C1 is near to the observer compared to this, which is away now. Okay, so then I can go for drawing all the edges of that end face. So that is base, a thick continuous line. So because all the edges of the base are visible. Then I'll go for the outermost edge, check out whether this is outermost or this is outermost. So this is outermost, I'll go for that outermost edge. Then E to D1 is the outermost. D1 to C1 is the outermost. C1 to B1 is the outermost, right? B1 to B to B1, sorry, B dash to B1 dash. So this is, so C1 to C is visible edge, because this end you can see, and that is the outermost end of the line, is nothing but you can see that edge, so that becomes your visible end face. See, once you get this outermost points, okay, so if this end of that edge, longer edge is visible, the other end is the outermost corner, outermost end point of that line, so that end is, because both the ends of the line is visible, is nothing but you can see the complete line, okay, so the complete edge. So then the axis line will be this, we'll show that axis. So now this is your view. So having its base edge resting on HP, right? So this is, see, the final view. Make it dark, all the edge, all the views, can make them dark, okay. An axis line with a flat. So this is the solution for that problem given in that exercise. So this can be given in the other way. Instead of giving the base inclination, you can say that the axis is inclined at 50 degrees, because when the base is inclined at 40 degrees to HP, automatically axis will be inclined at 90 minus that 40 degrees, base inclination of 40 degrees, so that becomes axis will be inclined at 50 degrees. The same problem can be given in that way by saying that instead of giving the base inclination, you may say the axis of the prism is inclined at 50 degrees to HP and the edge on which it is resting is inclined at 30 degrees to HP. Otherwise, they can give you something like this. I can change the problem in this way, but the solution will be same answer, but they can change the sentence in that same problem, saying that a pentagonal prism of 30 mm base edges and a height of 70 mm is resting on one of its base edges HP such that the rectangular surface containing that edge on which it rests is nothing but this A1 B1 is the edge which is resting, then A1 B1 AB is the rectangular surface. So that is inclined at 50 degrees to HP, is nothing but the base inclined at 60 degrees. Even then the same solution. Then you may say the same thing, the edge on which it is resting is inclined at 30 degrees to VP. Go for showing that edge is inclined at 30 degrees to VP, because you have taken this one to 30 degrees, so even this will be at 30 degrees. So then that way that can be given. So otherwise they may mention that in this particular case, because you can turn either this way, right, this way or this way to give the inclination which was previously perpendicular to VP, can be turned like this to give the inclination to the edge on which it is resting, or in this way. So in that case even they can mention that a pentagonal prism of 30 mm base edges and a height of 75 mm is resting on one of its base edges on HP such that the base is inclined at 40 degrees or axis is inclined at 50 degrees, or they may say the rectangular surface containing that edge on which it is resting is inclined at 50 degrees, and the edge on which it is resting is inclined at 30 degrees to VP such that the base is nearer to the observer. So this is the case where A1 B1 C1 is inclined at, is turned towards the observer, so that is nearer to the observer. Or you can turn in the other way, so in that case the top end face will be nearer to the observer, or the base will be nearer to VP. So this base is nearer to VP, then you have to redraw the sketch in this way, so that the base will be nearer to VP or away from the observer, or in this way where I can say the base is nearer to the observer but it is away from the VP. Same solution for all that cases where the sentence can be changed in that way. Three different types, giving the base inclination or the axis inclination, or rectangular surface containing that edge is inclined. So then by saying the condition, one more condition, saying that the base is nearer to the observer or that is nearer to VP. Based on that you have to redraw this view, then that will be the solution. So understood this. Then move on to the next type. Okay. So where I'll just so taking the problem from the book, I'll just dictate one problem, or just will go for taking a problem in the book which is exercise problem which is available in the KRG. There is a problem. He says a pentagonal prism of 40 mm side of base and height 70 mm is resting on a corner of its base on HP with a longer edge containing that corner is inclined at 45 degrees to HP, and the vertical plane containing that edge on the axis is inclined at 30 degrees to VP. Draw its projections. So in that case we'll see how the problem can be drawn. He says he is resting on one of its corner of its base on HP with a longer edge containing that corner is inclined at 45 degrees to HP. So in that case, if this is the, he says it's resting on one of its corner, then you have to keep this solid in this way with reference to vertical and horizontal plane, so that you're going to have a corner that makes an equal inclination with the vertical line to that XY line. So this way, so it's a triangular prism. So we're going to have a triangle, something like this, right? So in all the cases, so these two edges with the vertical line should make equal inclination. That's the corner position. So then if I tilt, automatically it will go to rest on that corner. If this is the corner position, where if you have a corner on the right side, so then we'll call that as corner position. So then if you turn towards right, you'll see that you're going to rest on that corner which is on the right side if you turn towards right. If it's a triangular prism, I'll go for a triangular prism. We'll see how that can be drawn. Okay, same thing applies to the pyramid. Go for this. So corner position, go for drawing it, having a corner on the right side. So draw your polygon in such a way that you're going to have a corner on the right side. So bisect any two sides, you'll get the center, that is nothing but your